In this demo, we will show you how to define a drop-down to enable a user to select an option from a list. In Service Studio, we have a module open, with an order detail screen created. This screen already has a form built, with multiple input widgets. The screen also has an aggregate created to fetch an order from the database. And an aggregate that fetches all the order status, which will be useful later. When expanding the order entity, we can see several attributes that reference other entities. Typically, an input field for these reference attributes displays a set of options, which are records from the entities they refer to. The end user can then choose an option from the set. So, this is a typical use case of a dropdown. Let's drag the requested by attribute to the form. This creates a dropdown automatically. When selecting the dropdown, we can see the different properties of the widget. The variable property is set to the requested by attribute of the order, meaning that the option chosen in the dropdown will be saved in this attribute. The list property of the widget expects the list of records to be displayed in the dropdown, as options to the end user. In this case, it presents the list of customers. This list comes from an aggregate that was automatically created when the dropdown was added. This means that the dropdown will display a list of customers for the end user to choose from. The dropdown also has a couple of properties that help determine what info will be displayed, and what value is saved in the variable property when an option is selected. In this case, the option's text property indicates that is the name of the customer that will appear in the dropdown. Then, the option's value property defines that it's the ID of the customer that will be saved in the variable set in the variable property. Let's now add a dropdown manually to list all the possible statuses of an order. First, we drag the dropdown to the form. Notice that several errors appear. We'll set the variable property of the dropdown to be status attribute of the order. Then, set the list property to be the output of the already created getOrderStatuses aggregate. If the aggregate didn't exist, we needed to create one to get all the statuses available. All the other properties were populated automatically, and may be fine-tuned manually if needed. To finish, we just need to drag a label to identify the input widget. Let's set the label text to status, and the input widget property to the recently added dropdown. Let's publish the module to see the dropdowns in the browser. Let's navigate to the details of an order. We can now see the dropdowns in the form. We can interact with them and choose an option from the ones available. The option chosen will then be stored in the field selected in the variable property.